Evening, folks. Hello. You're going to get this in about 40 seconds time, apparently, because that's the turnaround we've got tonight. My keyboard's all skew. There you go. Look. Da, 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 da. Yeah, that's it. That's better. Nothing worse than having a skew keyboard. I'm joined this week by him. Bong. Again.
Sorry, I'm playing with knobs.
Yeah, who hasn't muted the sound, so he's getting the playback from what we did a minute ago. Yeah. So in about 30 seconds ish, we'll start the show properly. But hello to chat. Who's in there? Sputs and Martin and Reef and Aaron and Chief and Jeff and Miles and Whip and Pete and Tom and Leanna and Spiritus and Gordy and Keith and Paul and VP and Jester. There's loads in there. Yes. Good evening to you. Hope you're all fine and dandy on this cold and dark and dismal September night. Yes. Anyway, I make it just about 9 o'clock, so we're going to have the bug for about 10 seconds. Yes. And there we go. Yes, that was the sting proper. So we're actually properly starting now live. Yeah, the first bit was just saying hello, basically, as it normally is. Say hello to those people in chat. Like I said, I've got this man with me this week. He's feeling a lot better than he did last week.
Yes.
You also look a lot better as well. You looked fairly green. You would have disappeared in my green screen environment.
I think I might have done just a tiny bit. It was that was a night from hell. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
I ain't going there again.
Yes, and Sav stepped in at the very last minute. So
yes.
Sav, she's our good lass. Is Sav?
She's a good one.
And we had a really good chat as well. We had a really good time, as they say up here in Yorkshire. So tonight, let me go to the single shot. There we go. Tonight we've got some stories from England, some stories from Scotland, and some stories from Wales. Well, story actually. We've got one from England, one from Scotland, one from Wales. We haven't got one from Ireland. I did have a look, but I didn't see anything that was half decent. Plus some VTs. We're going to look at Outshot, the DOGE V2, the Congrevape Competition DOGE V2, which I've been playing around with. Some really shocking coil building, I've got to warn you. So if you're of a nervous disposition and you make cracking coils, look away when this video is on, because my coils are not cracking. But I do take it all the way up to 100 watts. Oh yes, using 12 milligram juice, which you'll see later on in the show. Yes, I would blow a nice cloud now, but I should disappear, for the green screen does not like Vaper. It turns me invisible, so I did it in the car when I got back from work earlier. So you can see that in part 2, I think. But we're going to kick off this week with the titles. Yes, and it is, by the way, the September the 22nd, 2015, and you are watching Vaper Trails TV, and this is Vaper Scene. Vaper Scene is proudly sponsored by Health E-Vape, UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and Pure Perfection e-liquids. Yes, indeed. Good evening. It is past, well, it's 4 minutes past 9 o'clock now. Where did that go? Just disappears without a trace. Time. Yes, good evening. It's 22nd of September 2015, and you're watching Vaper Trails here on Vaper Trails TV, Vaper Scene even, on Vaper Trails TV. Yes, that logo there, yeah. Anyway, I've got Mr. Dibley with me, and we're going to look at some stories. We're going to kick it off fairly smartly. Now, if you've seen the show before, and obviously if you're in chat and you normally watch the show, then you have, you know that I subscribe to They Work For You, and that's a website that you can get information and you can have email alerts if a certain question gets asked to a certain MP, and I kind of follow two. I follow my MP, which is Dan Jarvis here in Barnsley, and also the Health Secretary. Yeah, and I got this through earlier on, so I thought I'd share it with you. And this question came in from Jim Shannon, who's DUP Strangford, and he asked the Secretary of State for Health what information his department holds on how many people of what age ranges gave up smoking in each of the last 5 years. Interesting question, that. Now, it's not vaping related, but it is kind of interesting. And Jane Ellison, who, as you know, is the Parliamentary Under Secretary of State for Health, provided these links. Now, Ridian has very kindly put the link to this particular article into chat for me. And there's some links there to some Excel documents. And this is one of said documents. And if you look on the first column there, the numbers set in a quit date in the year 2014 to 2015 was 450,582. Now, the successful quitters, they say self-reported, so that would be people telling the stop smoking services yes they've stopped, is 229,688. People who had not quit were 116,732, and the number of not known 104,162, and it goes on with lots more other information. There's by demographic, there's by county council, there's if they were pregnant or not. Really worth having a look. I didn't see any information there on e-cigarettes, but there is information there on stuff like Champix and the like. Well worth having a look if you're interested and you like looking at numbers. And it was quite interesting to see, for me, the difference as you go through the different counties. If you've got the northeast, a lot more people, the south, a lot more people, and kind of in the middle, very strange numbers. And the quit rates, they're looking at kind of 50%, which I don't believe, to be fair. So well worth having a look. You haven't seen that, have you, Gary?
I haven't, no. But it'd be interesting, like I say, to see the e-cig figures in there. But I don't know whether they still see the e-cig as a. I mean, me personally, I've switched, so I'm not quitting. I've never been a quitter. I've always been a switcher. So for me, if they put e-cigs in there, I would. It'd be good to see, but I don't see that I've quit. If you know what I mean, I've switched as always my delivery system. So yeah, it would be interesting to see some of those figures though for if you like a separate column, people who have switched to e-cigs.
Yes, and obviously the PHE touched on that in their report from weeks ago. That people have switched to using e-cigs instead of using lit tobacco, and I think they need to make the distinction, those who have quit using lit tobacco, because I don't know if those figures encompass people who they think still smoke because they're using e-cigs, and I don't believe I still smoke. I still believe I use nicotine, but I don't class myself as a smoker. Other people still do, I particularly don't. But well worth a look if you're of that ilk. And you like kind of those kind of numbers, and it, like I said, it's interesting to see the kind of north-south Midlands divide within those figures, and also where they get them from. Yeah. Now, that's England really. Let's have a look. Well, it's UK. Let's have a look at a Scottish story. And this was on the BBC News channel earlier on, BBC Scotland, and they say e-cigarettes used by 1 in 20 Scots, says Health Survey. And Ridian will put the link in for this. 1 in 20 adults in Scotland use e-cigarettes, and a sixth of adults have tried them, according to an annual survey of Scottish households. This is the Scottish Health Survey for 2014. It suggested wealthier people are more likely to drink at harmful levels, and most Scots do not eat the recommended amount of fruit and veg. Now, it goes on the second page here. The results suggested 1 in 20 adults, 5% of the Scottish population, currently use e-cigarettes, and 15% of all adults have tried them. Half of all smokers said they had used them, but just 1% of people who had never smoked regularly said they tried e-cigarettes. And then the last page goes on about obesity and drinking, and also health, which we won't go into. You can have a look at that if you look at the article. It is interesting, the kind of obesity rate in Scotland, seeing as they have the deep fried Mars bars and stuff, which I think started up there. But they do a lot of deep fried things, including deep fried battered pizza. Yes, so if you go there and have half a pizza supper, that's what you get. Half of a deep fried pizza with chips. But yes, interesting nonetheless. Gary, what did you make of that one?
Yeah, again, they're trying to bundle a lot of things in one basket there, aren't they? It's an interesting statistic on the e-cigs. I'm seeing it a hell of a lot more, and the increase in my locality. We've had a recent Vaper shop open down the road from our work, and since that one's gone up, the amount of people I'm seeing walking about now, compared to even 2-3 months ago, is just incredible, just in my area, you know. So, I mean, I know that there are quite a few new shops that have opened up in that sort of area. Edinburgh, Glasgow, this and the other, because we have engineers up there all the time. And,
yeah.
And they report back to me. You know, I've just seen a vape shop, Mr. Dibley. But they don't call me Mr. It's mainly something else that I can't mention on TV. Yeah, they report back, and they're saying that lots and lots, nearly every place they're staying, that they're seeing them. So I can see the uptake being very large, and anywhere really. I think wherever I go now, been travelling around a lot the past few sort of months, and it's becoming a lot more mainstream.
Yes, indeed. I'm just looking in chat there, and Keith Morgan has said deep fried battered haggis, lush, and it is nice. I have to say, I have partaken of the deep fried haggis, and also the deep fried black pudding. That is quite tasty, I must say. And VB has said that deep fried pizza is amazing. I don't like that. I have tried it, and it's not nice, in my opinion. But the old haggis, deep fried or not, is it's an acquired taste, but I do like that. But yes, interesting. But that leads me on to the next little story, which is on swns.com, and this was on one of the blogs, and I forget where I found it, but I got it from Twitter. Yes, e-cigarette users are fitter than average person. They haven't met me, have they? Because I'm not fitter than the average person. But going back to the story, yes, in just 2 years, e-cigarette users have increased up to 2.1 million here in the UK. And as an industry under constant criticism by the media, too true, there have been a number of reports in 2015 alone attempting to unmask the true value of these tools as healthy alternative to traditional tobacco. And Ridian has put the link into this story into chat. With the Ash report confirming in June this year that e-cigarette devices have proved an incredible success in encouraging smokers to quit a lifetime habit, the PHE report that followed also shone a light on the industry as one that is encouraging a healthier lifestyle. Mr. Dibley, what are your thoughts on this? It does go on, by the way. It goes on much longer. Goes on for another two pages. But you can look at that. If you have a look, yeah,
we're all fit, really, aren't we? You know, I mean, I've been to a few vape meets, and I must say, some of those I've looked around and I've gone, God, that is a fit vapor. But no, you know, I feel, you know, from my story a long time ago, I'm an asthmatic, or I'd like. The strange thing is, I like to say I was an asthmatic because it was so much more prolific when I was smoking, as it would be. I made the switch. It's nearly 7 years now ago, and since then, I've said it many times, my asthma has almost disappeared. If I overexert myself, which only happens on my birthday, which was this weekend, we don't like to talk about that. But when if I overexert myself, then I do get a little bit wheezy, as most of us do. I'm 45 now, so I'm bound to get wheezy every now and then, and it probably only get worse with age. But no, I think you look at people, and you know, you can see some smokers, and I've got aunties and uncles that have been smokers all their life, and you look in their face, and you can tell, you can see, you know, you can see the aging of the smoke that it's done. I'm just glad that I switched 7 years ago, and so these don't get any worse, because you know the grey hair's coming now, and you know it's getting grey everywhere, and hair's growing out of all sorts of places where it shouldn't be. But yes, I would like to say I'm fit.
Yes, thank you for that, Gary.
Thank you.
Hair is growing out of everywhere.
Yeah.
Welcome to old age, mate.
You don't want to know.
Grey, yeah. Oh, I've been going grey for years. I don't care, to be fair. Silver fox that I will be, yes. Interesting, nonetheless, that article says that people are fitter, and that's probably because, obviously, stopping using lit tobacco changes things. You're not getting the tar, you're not getting all those other carcinogens and chemicals and stuff. Fit wise, I mean, I'm fitter than I was when I smoked, for sure. But I think that it's quite a generalist statement to say, really. I'd like to see some proper statistics on that before I kind of have an opinion either way, I think. But yes, have a look at that story. You can see the whole thing. Now, finally, I got this earlier on. I was tweeted earlier on by Simon, and he said, "Are you going to run this story?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And it's this. This is in Wales Online. Tobacco, gambling and fossil fuels, the morally indefensible investments funding AM's pensions. And this is the AMs in Wales. And it's Friends of the Earth, Cymru, Wales, said that the investments are morally indefensible companies. And basically what they're saying is, they say at least £800,000 is invested in fossil fuel firms, £180,000 in tobacco companies, and more than £50,000 in gambling companies. And Ridian's put the link into chat. It goes on. The Tory AM for South Wales East, William Graham, chair of the trustees of the AM's pension scheme, said they have a legal duty to act in its best financial interests and must not let ethical or political convictions stand in the way of getting strong returns. So what they're saying is, Wales can ban smoking, they can restrict the use of e-cigs, but it's okay for their pension funds to invest in those things. So those three things that we've just mentioned, so you've got the motorist, so they're investing heavily in fossil fuels, petrochemicals. You've got the smokers, which they're trying to kind of cut down, but they still invest a lot of money. And then you've got gambling, which is on the rise. Every other advert almost on the telly these days is for either online gambling casinos or payday loans. And the church was heavily invested into payday loans at one point before they cut their ties. So is it right or is it wrong for governments and local councils, is what I was thinking of, to invest in those things, to invest in tobacco, to invest in gambling, and to invest in petrochemicals? The jury's kind of out, and there's a poll on that website, and as you see, 50-50. So 50% of the people voted said it's okay, and 50% said no. Personally, in my pension pot, in my pension fund that I get through work, I could choose where the investments went, and I've specifically not invested in pharmaceutical or tobacco companies. That's completely out. All the different funds that I've got my money in, which is actually doing reasonably well, I have to say, without investing in tobacco and pharma. I did that for my own reasons. I'm not sure whether it's defensible to say I don't think they should invest in those, because it obviously makes a lot of money, but it seems a bit hypocritical. What do you reckon, Gary?
Yeah, it's definitely it's an eye opener, isn't it? Because you know, on one hand, the ban on e-cigs, and then they're investing in nicotine. But the way I viewed that, and I have a strange mind. was to me a fossil fuel is tobacco, as far as I'm concerned. Because
Yes.
I feel that was something completely different now. They should be investing in e-liquid by the barrel load.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it is a really difficult one to do. And someone's put in the
Yeah.
chat there, Ridine said 50% must be the AMs, which is possible. And Rob said it was 67% no when he voted. So I'm not sure when you voted, Rob. I voted about 6 o'clock this evening, and it was 50-50 then. So not quite sure how that's changed. I'm just looking now in chat. Hi-Fi said, Dave Dodd, I want my pension fund managers investing in whatever pays most. Sod the ethics, and thick kicks and well kicks are well. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to think long term and in what is going to make the most money for your pension fund. So when you retire, you've got a nice wedge to buy your annuity or to cash out and do what you want with night you can these days. I think it's when it comes to government departments, is it right that we as people who pay the taxes say to their fund managers, you can't invest in this, you can't invest in that? I don't think it is, to be fair. But it does make a nice story, doesn't it, Gary?
It certainly does, yes. And that's what it's all about. It's about a story, isn't it?
Yes. And it sells newspapers, and people like us talk about it, especially if it's smoking or e-cig related. And on that note, on that bombshell, as Mr. Clarkson would say, it's time for our first set of ads, which are coming up in about 2 seconds. Yes, see you in 2. UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and Pure Perfection e-liquids.
Often imitated, never duplicated. Award-winning service and products from cloud9vaping.co.uk. And now it's back to Vaper Scene on Vaper Trails TV. Vaper Scene is sponsored by Healthy Vape, UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and Pure Perfection e-liquids. And welcome back to part 2 of this week's show. Yes, welcome back. Gary and I were just discussing what item we were going to have next, and we've chosen this week to have Gary's video. Yes. Would you like to introduce your video, Gary?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how to introduce it, to be honest with you. I'm playing with knobs again, and buttons and displays and this and the other. I'm I'm getting all the stuff together. I've got a new tool over this shoulder, which we'll probably see next week, as well as that one, the big bitey thing. But this week I was looking at laying out the circuit that's going to go in what will be Marco's.
Yay!
Yay! And it's going to be an ETI building ohmie voltage thingy, and you'll see how that develops as we go. And I got a little bit of feedback at the end of the VT. So here we go.
Alright, so we're back in the room once again, and apologies for last week. I was a poorly bunny. I've got now deliveries of lots of bits and pieces. I'll get this bit of metal out of the way because that's going to just throw everything out. But I've got a nice chunk of wood which will be played with at some point, and that may well be going in the pressure pot that you see last week. Most importantly, I've got a sheet of metal. Now all of these have come, I've got this chunk of alley just to play with on eBay because I have an idea, and before I go and spend loads of money on stainless steel, I want to see whether I can cut it in that thing. Let me just talk you through some of the bits I've got. Some of these are relevant for our ohm and voltage building station thing that we're going to be looking at. Get the ones that are not interesting but will be coming forwards. I've got one of the Fat Daddy squonking top caps, atomizer connection things with the squonky doofer. I've got some squonky bottles with tubes, so you can see possibly where we'll be going with that somewhere in the future. I have a nice 18650 tubed battery holder, which again will be coming into play at some point in the future. I've got a nice little new milling bit, and that will be coming into play on the building station, and various switches, this, that's, and the others. Now I've got again a couple of Fat Daddies for other projects, and a new mechanical switch that they're doing. Now that is looking rather interesting. We're going to have a play with that as well. Leaves me with some of the bits that we're going to be using, and just sort of explain. I'm just going to lay out today and hopefully try and wire up and test how this ATI station is going to work. This one here is a resistance meter measuring in ohms, and I might have to get a new one. I thought I had loads of these, but I haven't. This is going to be the voltage meter. Now the idea is that everything is connected up via a big main on-off switch. You've then got a button of sorts to pulse. And all this is going to be built into, if you like, the aluminium plate with a screen in front, and all you'll see on it is the knobs, and this will be behind a glass type thing, he hopes. Push button, as I say, to activate. So we've got a main on off, we've got a push button to activate, and then we will have a selector switch that will sit in between those two. So effectively, when it's powered up, if it's in that position, it'll be reading ohms. When you press the button, if it's in that position and you press the button, it will show you what volts are going up to the 510 connector, which will sit somewhere in the middle. And again, so when you're building on the top of this, you can flick to see which voltage is going up to the ATI, and you can flick to see the ohmage of your coil. Don't know really if the battery one's necessary, but why the hell not? It'd be rude not to, seeing as we're going to do this, and it's a bit of a challenge in terms of wiring. I'm going to have a play with this, and we're hopefully going to try and do a little rig. I won't film it step by step because we're running short on time, and next week I want to be starting to get dirty with some wood. I should have my new fence guard hopefully by then. It still hasn't bloody arrived, so apologies. It's going to take us a while to get going. I'm getting back into this, and I'm having to build up bits and stock and stuff that I just haven't had or used for a damn long time. So I've got to buy lots of bits to play with. The one thing I will say, this, if you look on the site, Mod Maker, basically he says, and I've looked at the specs of this, realistically this voltmeter, no, this is the ohm meter, should be running on 3 volts. Now, he's tried it with an 18650, I've tried it with an 18650, and I've also tried it on 3 volts. Now, at 4.2, it should be okay, but it's working outside of the tolerances. Now, what it does and what I've tested is when you're running this at 3 volts, or you're running it at connected it to an 18650, the only difference is the display is ever so slightly brighter on the 18650 at full chunk. I don't think it's going to do much damage, but I'm just going to build it that way, because it's going to have one battery tube going in. It's going to have one 18650, which could be used for testing and burning your coils, and the other way just for checking your ohmage. I can't see it being a massive problem. That may well come back to bite me, but I know he's rigged one up with an 18650, and it is working fine. Like I say, the only thing I can see is a difference in the brightness. Now that probably means that things are working harder than should do, and it's boosting up the thingy. Can't see an extra 1 point something volts is going to be doing lots and lots of damage over time, maybe. But this is going to Marco, so I don't care. No, it will be built so it can be replaceable. I'm going to just to explain the switch. Now this is a little two-way selector switch. So like I say, left or right. And if I turn on the beepometer, just try and give you an idea of what I mean by that. At the moment, it is in the left hand, or well, I don't know how that's looking at you, the left hand position. And if I put me doofy, I can't even get the damn things here. But if I put me 2 prongs on, I've got a beep across those 2. I can get down a bit. No, I can't. See, I'm trying to get back into this filming stuff. It's hard. Across them 2, I'll get a beep. Hold on, let me see if I can do that. I'll get a beep across them 2. I won't get nothing across on the other switch until I flip my switch. And I'll get it on the side. So effectively, all negs are going to be going to the centre. And then the positives on the ohm meter or voltmeter will be coming out via these. So depending on which way the switch is in, it depends on which one will activate. I'm going to go away and have a little play. I'm going to be very quick today. It's one's birthday. Yeah, filming on my birthday, and I've got my folks and everything coming over a little bit later. So I need to run. I'm going to go away, try and put something quickly together. Now, for sort of speed and this and the other, I'm going to be using an 18650 holder. We'll try and piece it together. We'll try and get something on there, and we'll try and get it working in some way, shape or form. That all may go pear-shaped, because this voltmeter I've ripped out of something else. I've used it before, and I'm not sure whether it is still functioning. Like I say, I might have to get another one of those in, but I'll give it a go. I will pop back in 2. I need to get some water. I need to heat the iron up and find me soldering. Be back into it. Right, we're back in the room. Now, I've been playing, and you can see laid out before you, there are lots and lots of bits wired up in random ways. Now, I've been playing with lots, and I've taken the battery meter out of the equation. And I'll tell you why, and I need to do some digging, because although this is the ohm meter, it appears that when wired in this way, does some strange things. So I don't have to put the selector in. Now I need to have a look and meter if this is actually doing what I think it's doing. Well, it certainly is. I know it's reading the voltages as well for some bizarre. Now I don't know. Like I say, could be totally wrong. I'm rushing. I haven't really had time to look. I'm going to play and probably report back live during the show as to if this works the way I thought it would work. But essentially, I've got the output of my battery going through an on-off switch, and I have 2 feeds coming out of that on-off switch. One which is going directly to the voltage input on the ohm reader, and then I've got the outputs of the ohm reader going down to the atomizer connection. The other one is going on to a further push button switch, so when this is activated and I push the switch, that then pushes voltage through to the battery, to the ATI. The reason for that is that if you're building a coil and you don't really want to test fire, this is just a test fire option, if you like. So at the moment, when you just try and move all this about so it's easy to see. So at the moment when I turn this on, in default this will read a 1, which it will do, and it is doing so. Now if I screw an ATI on my connector here, let's try and move out of the way so you can see this happening as it happens, and now the switch has gone in the way. But once that's home, that is giving me a resistance reading of my ATI. Now as a building station, brilliant, because you can just turn that on. You've got your building platform, you can build your ATI, give that a quick click on, and it will test your resistance. Now the strange thing is, now this battery is not really up to firing a sub 1 ohm battery at the moment, be it 0.95, and that is what this is reading on the device as well. Like I said, the bizarre thing is when I hit the switch to fire, now I may try and jiggle around with this circuit before we actually put it on, but it is actually switching to voltage mode and giving me a 3.18, which when I had that in the circuit without this under load, I was getting 3.18 volts. That's why I'm a bit gobsmacked with this as to how it's working. I'm going to have a chat. I'm going to have a chat with Mr. Mod Maker and just see if we can have a look at the specs to see why that is happening. It's bizarre. It's a nice function if it is there. It's not what I was expecting. So, like I say, you learn as you go. I'll just pop. It's been ages since I played with wires. Again, back in the default as a 1. Let me just grab another ATI that I could just screw on there. Screw the old sub tank on there. There you go. 0.61 on the ohm scale. And you can see that is reading voltage under load when I press the button, which is, it's bizarre. It really is bizarre. Now, like I say, this battery isn't up to sub ohm, and that's why I'm pulsing. I really need to look into that further and have a chat and see why. I don't know. It's not mentioned in the specs. That is what it does do. It's only supposed to, and I've read them again, measure resistance according to say where we got it from, but there we are. Really bizarre. And if that does work like that, that is going to be absolutely fantastic when it comes to doing a build. If it doesn't, you turn it on, you build your Yeti, you got your resistance readout. It would simplify the whole thing a hell of a lot without having readers, extra voltmeters and a switch to switch between the two. If it does that, incredible. Yes, it's just bizarre. I'm thinking beside myself. Right, I'm going to leave that there. While we work on the gubbins, and I may have some feedback when we're live, if I can do some more jiggery pokery and work out the specs on that little reader. Next week we'll be hopefully starting to cut some wood. We've got the alley plate, which we're going to mount the on-off switches, the fire switch, and all that in. They're probably going to cut a lot out. You don't want to see it step by step. It would be just too much. But for now, I shall hand you back to Marco in the studio from a gobsmack Dibley. And I'll catch you in a bit. Mental. Right, so I wanted to do one more test. I've enlisted the help of the wife. Just going to turn this on. So I've got my display lit there. I'm going to press the button. Like I was saying before, I had a suspicion that this is reading voltage the way that this is configured. So if I press the button, I've got 4.03 over there. If I just put my probes on the battery and get my wife's hands in on the job and to press the button, we've got 4.02 there. So it's not a million miles apart. What I'm going to do quickly, you can let go now, my love, is when that's in this mode, I'm just going to put the ATI on. Now I know this is around a 2 ohm ATI, and that should be reading on there, yeah, 2.5 ohms. So in this configuration with the on-off switch on, it's coming straight in and reading the ohms. It does fluctuate a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is just probe this, and I'll get my wife to press, hold that, love. This is an extra hand, and I'm just going to meter across here, and hopefully you can see both that and that. If you press the button, so I've got 3.5 on there, that is firing, and I've got 3.6 on the meter. So it is pretty much reading voltage under load when it's firing. You can let go. And now back to our resistance. It's interesting. I need to speak to Mod Maker and see what he thinks of this scenario, because as far as the spec goes, that was all it did. As you know, reader 1, put your ATI on, and it tells you the resistance. Intrigued. Back into.
So yeah, that was a. I know that I've been reading the comments in chat, and yes, that was an extremely old battery that I used for testing. It's wrong. I know that. Yes, and I wasn't putting myself in any danger. It was a serious fault drop on there. I've got some decent batteries. When I'm building, I use the crap ones just in case. There's a lot of wire. There was a lot of solder, but it was an out-the-box test. When we come round to doing the final build, it'll all be neatened up. So there we go. So just to answer some of those questions, yeah, it looks like a right mess on the bench. And that is, I always build everything first outside of the mod as such. Before I go back to Marco, I'm going to just do a little plug, if I may. This weekend is the Leicestershire Vapers meet. It's a little weekend meet. I've totally forgot where it's going to be held, so I'm sure somebody will type that in chat, and I'm probably going to be shot for that. But it's in Melton Mulberry, and they make some damn good pies up there.
They do make good pies in there,
and beer and cheese and everything. I've experienced it all this weekend. I've been injected with mulberry. But it's being run. It's running from 7 o'clock until 10 o'clock. Apparently. And it's the second birthday as well of Juice E Vaporium on the day, and they will be providing a little nibble as you enter, which sort of intrigued me as to why you wouldn't go if you were going to get one of those. I mean, you imagine that every vape meet offering a little nibble upon entry. That'd be interesting. Yeah, so it's there. There's going to be bring your own refreshments, and they're going to be discussing future meets, this, that, and the other. The lovely Amy and Carolina will be there on the day as well. So yes, if you haven't put it down, have a look. Back to you, Marco.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dibley. Yes, and if you do know where it is, put it into chat, please. And maybe during these next adverts, Gary will remember where it is and tell you after that. Yes. We will see you in 2. Vaper Scene is proudly sponsored by Health E-Vape, UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and Pure Perfection e-liquids.
Vapers, Dripper just got 40% bigger. So if you love discovering new e-liquids, tell Dripper what flavours you like and we'll send you 70ml of juice and at least 5 flavours. With a money-back guarantee and free delivery anywhere in Europe, dripper.co.uk.
What's in this e-cig cloud? Harmless water vapour, right? Pretty much, yes. Compared to a lit cigarette, it's much safer than smoke. But it contains nicotine, and nicotine on its own isn't toxic and doesn't cause cancer. If you're worried about switching to vapour, here are some facts. No tar, no smoke, no burnt tobacco. Cooking your evening meal produces more toxins than are found in exhaled vapour. Tobacco smoke contains toxins at very high levels, and vapour does not. And that vapour contains 6,000 times less carcinogens than cigarette smoke. Electronic cigarette vapour. There's nothing to be frightened of. The only dangerous electronic cigarette is a banned one.
And now it's back to Vaper Scene on Vapor Trails TV. Vaper Scene is sponsored by Healthy Vape, UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and Pure Perfection e-liquids. And welcome back to part 3. Yes, hello. We're going to move straight on now to my bit of VT, and it is the Competition DOGE V2. Yes, so enjoy, and please don't mock my coil building too much. See you on the flip side. So on last week's show, I gave you a little glimpse of this, and it's the Congrevape Competition DOGE V2. Yeah, it's a dripper, and I was kindly given this by Tristan from Spirits Vapes at Vapefest, and I'm just finally getting round to having a look at it. I've had a look at it already. I haven't actually built it yet, put it all together. So what I thought I'd do is just show you what you get in it, and then we'll put a dual coil on it, and I'm going to use Canthal on this one, so I can put it on the Sigelli 150 and give it some serious power, rather than use the NI200. But I do have some new NI200 coming, which should be here this week, so I might show you something with that next week. It's a slightly thicker gauge. So let's have a look at what you get in here. Inside the box you will see you've got your dripper itself, which is fairly hefty, I have to say. Look at that huge bore chuff pipe, and you also get in there a little baggie. Yeah, now the little baggie has a blue screwdriver, the ubiquitous blue screwdriver that you get these days. It has some spare copper screws and some spare steel screws, and also a spare post with the associated isolator, square and round, and also some steel pins. So you can change things around a bit. Let me show you the actual unit itself, and it's fairly easy, to be fair. There's not many parts to it. Top section comes out, and that is your chuff pipe with some airflow holes there, which you can turn around to get the maximum airflow. What I didn't mention as well, by the way, in the baggie are some spare O-rings, because there's an O-ring here where it fits in, and there's also some O-rings at the bottom. So the center section comes out. Again, you see the cut airflow channels which line up with said mouthpiece when you put it together, and then you've got your bottom deck, and that's the other 2 O-rings that you get in your little baggie. So you get the spares there. It's a copper connector on the center pin, and you can see there the copper screws, and then there's 2 stainless steel posts and 1 copper post, and that is what you can swap out if you wish for the stainless steel one, which is in the little baggie. So you can have it all stainless steel, or you can have the centre pin copper and all 3 screws copper. You can't have all 3 posts copper, and that's because these ones are pretty much in the build, and the centre one is the one that you can take off. So that's pretty much the actual dripper itself. There's not really much to drippers. A deck, a centre section, and a chuff pipe or a mouthpiece. So what I'll do is I'll build up a dual coil on here, one this side, one that side. I'm going to use Canthal as opposed to NI200 for this, and then we can give it some serious wattage and bump it up, so to speak. Let's call something up. What I'm using here is Canthal in this lovely little container that our very own Matt Gerrish printed me on his 3D printer. So we're just going to take a couple of lengths of that off, and then we can start building some coils. I just need to find my scissors. So I've got one length and then a second one. Put that out of the way. I'm going to be using some organic Japanese cotton, and also I shall be using a specific drill bit, and these are kind of the drill bits I use. I haven't got one of those fancy coiling kits, you know, the little coiling jig. I should get one really, it'll save me a lot of hassle and mucking about. But that is my favourite drill bit. Let me just zoom in because you probably can't see that. There you go. That's my favourite drill bit for using for making coils. And I've got my already procured from one of the various sub-tank kits blue screwdriver, which I'll just take out as well. In fact, it's a flathead. Yes, and the one you get in the bag is also a flathead. I didn't notice that till just now. However, I've got a larger one which I'll use. So first thing I'm going to do is just open up the gaps so I can get my posts from my coil in, and we'll do all 3. They are reasonably loose, you can do them with your fingers. They're obviously not machined too tightly, so that'll do for now. And then I'm going to do 6 wraps of this Canthal. And that will give me a reasonable size coil. I'm not going to be doing the heating malarkey. What I will do, however, is I'll get my trusty pliers and I'll just pull the leg while holding the other end, just to tighten that off. And then I might as well just trim my posts. So that is my first coil, and I'm going to shove that straight in, to be fair, rather than make both and then do that. So coil's going in. I'll just get that positioned how I need it, which is about right. It's always very difficult doing this so you can see, but we do our best. You could actually get away with a much bigger screwdriver on these. They are quite big. Right, so that's my first coil in place. I've left the centre pin untightened for now. So we'll just take out the drill bit. We'll need to finagle this a little bit in a second when I've got the second coil in place. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's kind of 6.5. really, if we're going to be a bit picky, and just pull those tight, and then just push that coil together. Like I said, I'm not bothering with the whole heating malarkey for this. It's quick and dirty, so to speak. Cut one slightly longer than the other on this one, and then that is going in to my posts. Okay, so let's hold that in place while I tighten up these screws. What I want to do, I always find this difficult when I'm doing two. Let me zoom in for you. It's a bit far away for you. There you go. I always find this difficult when I'm doing a dual coil setup in a dripper, because you've got a post that comes out obviously where the other coil is, which is never ideal. So what I want to do is just off camera get another drill bit. Right, so I've got both my coils on my dripper, still attached to my my two drill bits, and that's going to come out now, and just finagle that slightly, and that's going to come out. There you go. It's not pretty, like I said, it's quick and dirty. There's a little zoom in, you'll see. I'm sure there are coil builders out there who are screaming as we speak, saying, "Oh my God, what is Marco doing?" I don't profess to be a hugely amazing coil maker or an experienced dripper. I will say that without a shadow of a doubt. What I do know is how to vape. This is currently at 35 watts, so I'm going to take this down to 20, and the coil is just on 1 ohm, which is not bad. There you go. Just double check that. Yes, 0.988 resistance. So we'll just check for a decent heat, and we are getting that quite nicely. What I've got here is some mod fuel. It's 12 milligram actually. One of the vendors who was at Vape Expo sent me this all the way from the States, and yes, I had to pay the duty. But I got a bottle of free juice. Well, I got 5 bottles of free juice, but it did cost me 14 quid in duty. But there you go, them's the breaks. It's a high VG, it's designed for dripping, and it's quite strong there. 12 milligram is reasonably strong for this kind of thing these days, although 12 milligrams is fine by me. It's all good. I'm just going to now cut off some of this here cotton to get a couple of wicks. I'm going to go along that side. So I've got a couple of pieces, which is more than enough, but once I've rolled it around a bit, it will appear smaller as I compress it down. So I'm just going to offer that up, and I'm probably going to use 3/4 of it, to be fair. I don't think I'm going to use all of it. Snip a little bit off on that side, and then do the same the other side. Just put them back in shot for you, and we'll just off this one up. The joys of having big fingers. It's not always easy to do little delicate things like that. And going to snip there as well. There we go. And now it's a case of some finagling. to get that into the juice well. I'm using the wrong kind of tweezers really, these were a bit pointy, but it's okay. You get the gist. And I'll just turn that round so I can see the other side. There we go. Move that coil a little bit space-wise. Right, there you go. Coiled up. I'm just going to drip some of this liquid on. Get these wicks nice and saturated with this here juice. I've got no idea what it tastes like, but I'm sure I'm going to find out very shortly. So, I think we are pretty much saturated at that point. So I'll give it a blast. And we can see it is starting to produce. So I'm going to put the bottom, well, the middle section on, and then line up the slots with the coils, and then top section. I'm going to start off kind of half open, really, and I'm going to bump it up to 25 watts. We'll start off at, so 25 watts, and it's just under the ohm resistance. Well, it produces rather nicely. I don't like the juice, but the actual dripper itself produces rather nicely. What I do like, of course, the fact that it's got a huge mouthpiece, is you can just drip straight in. You're not having to muck about doing stuff. I'm just going to get quite a bit in there. It's not going to leak out unless you go all halfway up, to be fair, which you're not really going to do. But you can see all the way in there, it's a pretty damn good chuff. Now, it was spitting just then, so you may suffer from spitting juice, which is not good if you get hot juice at the back of your throat. But there you go. So I'll give it another little chuff.
Hello. I thought I'd give a little update. I've been using the dripper with the juice that I don't particularly like, which is this one, Mod Fuel, and it's called Apollo. Yeah, I don't really like it that much, but as I've got it in here and I've got the bottle, you know, it's worth using for this kind of experiment, if you like. And I've bumped up the wattage to 50 to show you what it's like at 50 watts, and the resistance is still just on 1 ohm, and there is a decent amount of juice in there. I did overfill it a little bit yesterday and it kind of leaked slightly. There you go, that's what happens. So I thought I'd do this at 50 and then bump it up to 100, because I know you're going to be wanting to see that, and you're not going to see the vapor when I'm in the studio, because the vapor interferes with the whole green screen thing, and I disappear. So I thought I'd just give you it in here. Yes, so I'll give you a nice little tug on this, and then we'll see what it produces. So in it, not too bad. I'll do another one. Yes, there you go. Let me just open my window and let all this vapor out while I bump up the wattage to 100. Yes. Keep going. 85, 90, 95, 99. Okay, we're now on 100 watts. Yes. So
Let me shut my window again, and then you will see how much vapour actually comes through this. Okay, so here we go. 100 watts. Let's see what we get out of this, and I hope I don't choke myself. Here we go. Vapour. It produces. That's 100 watts at 12 milligram. I'll give you one more. I'm disappearing. I am disappearing in the haze that is in my car now. So I'll give you one more. And there you go. 100 watts, 1 ohm, 12 milligram juice. Very nice. See you back in the studio. I've got to get out of this car. It's all full of vapour. And there you go. Yes, now I have to say that last little bit of ET, I was stationary, I wasn't driving, and dripping and driving definitely is not good. That's why I normally have these with tanks, so I can put them on the seat. Occasionally I have had a little bit of leakage on the seat from one of my e-cigs, but that was sat in my cup holder, but I wasn't really vaping it. I just thought I'd get some VT when I'd finished work this evening. So yes, there you go. Not the best colours in the world. I did say it was a quick and dirty, so I didn't bother with the crimping them down and heating it and making them nice and neat and lovely and fantastic. And I'm certainly not a Clapton coil builder. With these things, it's very difficult to do intricate things such as that. But it works, and it works rather nicely, I have to say. Rather pleased with it. I was looking in the comments about the copper. And that's maybe why you get the other bits in the little bag, so you can make it all stainless steel if you don't wish to use the copper. But there you go. Gary, you can have 20 seconds on that.
Oh, well, excellent. Yeah, as you know, I'm still playing with the Royal Hunter, and I've done my first temp coil in there. I'll give you a blast. That'll be my last little bit. Quick drag. There we go.
Very nice. Yes, or a quick tug.
Quick tug, yeah, I like
it. Which seems to amuse Hi-Fi Stud in chat.
Nothing like a quick tug.
So listen, thank you to Gary for being on again this week and for the VT. We will see you next week, and it's the final show for Gary and myself for a couple of weeks, because I'm going to have a couple of weeks holiday. Yes. The first time this year without a show for 2 weeks, but there you go. Tomorrow night it's the Cave with Matt and Iridian, and then Thursday it's the Haze Hour with Mr. Dave Dawn and his Oppo Keith, and then Monday it all starts again. Yes, so thank you so much for tuning in. I'll put a double shot up. There we go. We're both on screen, Gary. Yes, thanks for tuning in, and we will well, you will see us next week. Enjoy the rest of the shows this week, and we will catch you soon. Say goodbye, Gary.
Goodbye.
Tatty bye.
See you later.
Vaper Scene is proudly sponsored by Health E-Vape, UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and Pure Perfection e-liquids.